Cuckoo! We're Isabel and Kim, girlfriends living in France and chatting about everything going on in our lives. Come hang out with us while we cheers an Aperol Spritz, swap stories, get into some deep talks, and share what we've learned along the way. Follow us on IG at cuckoo.pod.
So, Isabel, I know you have some big news to share.
Okay, I do. So before coming over here today, I went to the Préfecture, which is where you go to get your visa, and I finally got a 10-year residence permit to live in France.
Yay!
And I'm so excited because, as most of you probably do not know, it is something that you have to do when you move to France. I've been here almost 6 years in August. I've had 3 one-year visas and 1 2-year visa, and it's just a process to get the visas.
Yes.
Always documents missing. Complicated process. So to have one for 10 years, I'm like, this feels like a dream. I don't have to go back for 10 years.
I'm very jealous. I'm very jealous.
I'm going to be 46 by the time I need a new one. And I'm probably just going to do my citizenship before then. So this is likely my last visa ever.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yes. The visas, if anyone wants to come for a year, it's actually fairly easy to get a 1-year traveler visa. But after that...
Which you can't work.
Yeah, you can't
work. You can come as a tourist and you have to prove that you have the means to support yourself.
Correct.
But to get a working visa is
it's
tough.
Very hard.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're working on that actually for next year. So wish us luck, but I'm so excited for
courage.
You. Bon courage. And for us, I'm excited. We just booked our tickets this weekend to go back to the United States for the first time in a year.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So it'll be like literally 1 year to the date that we moved. And now we're going back to see family, which I'm super excited about. But I'm like kind of curious what it'll feel like going back to the United States. It's just been a while. So
I think you guys, we actually booked our tickets to go this summer as well. And I think this will actually be my 3rd time in the U.S. this year. I usually only go once a year. But I think it'll be super interesting for you to see how you feel, because I don't know if it's the same for everyone else, but for me, I think when it was closer to when I had just moved, it wasn't as shocking. But as each year goes by, I almost feel like more out of place in both places. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I've heard that before.
It's just different. Like things start to feel... for me, it's almost been 6 years, so it's kind of a long time. But things start to feel sort of foreign in the U.S., but things are always still feeling foreign to me in France. So now I'm just like lost
on both sides.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it'll get better. But I did hear that's something people feel, especially even there's it's like reversed culture shock, I guess, is what they call it. So we'll see how that goes.
But it'd be so good to see family.
I'm excited.
I think you'll also notice that one of the things I've really noticed, especially having a daughter, is I was worried about the relationships that my daughter would have with my mom and relatives.
Yeah. No, same.
And it's crazy, because you get to have quality time.
Right.
It's so different than kind of just seeing someone all the time, but just for a little bit. And so I've really realized she has such strong bonds with my mom, her sisters, and it's been really nice. And I think that it'll be great for your kids to, your parents have been over. I feel like you guys have seen a lot of family, but.
Yes. Yeah. I haven't seen my sister or my brother, so I'm excited about that.
That's awesome.
So, yes.
I'm excited for you.
All right. Thank you. You too. Okay. So we're jumping in today for our topic of the day. Which is something I think that's been on both of our minds as we sort of think about now and reflecting back. But I think this topic comes up a lot is people think they can have it all. And we believe why you can't necessarily have it all at the same time. And so one of this is kind of come to our minds with how, especially as women, juggling careers, kids, marriages, aging parents, it becomes a lot, I think, all at the same time. And I think when I first was pregnant with my son, who's now 7, I was of course I can have it all. I can still work and continue to move up the corporate world, and I can still be present with my son, and I can still be around and try to be a great wife and, do all the things I used to do. And I think I was under very false pretenses of it actually being really challenging to try to do all of those things at once. And I feel like now, as I reflect back, my daughter's 7 and my daughter's 5 and my son is 7, that it was just constant trade-offs. And I don't think I was necessarily fully present all the time for any sort specific task I was in. So for example, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate, I would be sitting in a work meeting and I'd get a text from my nanny and a picture of my kids, and my mind would immediately be like, I wonder how they're doing. I wonder if they napped today. I wonder what they're eating. Like just a million mom thoughts. And then also like a bit of sadness that I wasn't there. And then you're at home, and I would be worrying, like I'd get home and the kids would, haven't seen me all day. And that's usually the time like around dinner that they kind of act up. And it was like just chaos. And I remember being like, oh gosh, I need them just to go to bed soon so that I can get back online for work because I've got this meeting tomorrow, et cetera, et cetera. And so I wasn't actually even necessarily present and like enjoying those moments. And I realized like was trying to sort of do too much, like all at the same time. And my mind would be sort of this like blurred, like there was blurred boundaries constantly. Yeah. And I learned about myself, and this isn't right for every person, but that COVID for me was like a chance to actually decide what really mattered and like take a little bit of a step back of like, how much do I care about this career that I've been like striving for the last like 15 years before that, and how much do I like really want to be like present with my kids when they're young. And I came to the realization that like something had to give. Like I could not.
Wait, so when COVID happened, you were working in the office?
Yes.
Full time.
Yes.
And then when COVID happened, you were working from home, or you weren't working?
I was working from home because everyone kind of was like on this immediate, like everybody work from home. This is like March of 2020. And then basically I had the kids at home. My nanny was kind of coming, but we were very scared about her coming because she had a family of her own.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. My husband was also working full-time from home, and we lived in a very small San Francisco house. We were on top of each other, and you could hear everything. Every work meeting was like chaotic. And I was also pretty unhappy at my job at that time.
That must have been impossible to take care of your kids and work at the same time.
Yeah. And my kids then were really young. So my daughter was a little over 1 and my son was 3.
Yeah.
So it was, it just felt like really, really overwhelming. And also like kind of made you question, like, why am I doing this to myself if I'm really unhappy? And then you keep coming back to, well, it's just for the money, or it's just for the money. Like we need the money. And then I think now I'm like, gosh, there's so many different trade-offs or decisions or conversations that my husband and I could have had that would have sort of simplified like how we thought about our financial situation and how we thought about like our values and what mattered most to us. And so I think my reflection and I want to hear like all of your story too as well, but like is I feel like there are certain times of your life when you can like go crazy in your career, and there's certain times in your life when being around for your children, like to me as a mom, like matters so much. And my kids are still like fairly young. I'm sure this changes and evolves like over time. And I believe now, like I think women can have it all, but not at the same time. And so I think I was under the misconception that you can have it all at once. And now
I feel like that's like, I don't really think it's like a misconception. I feel like that was like sort of like preached to everyone, especially our age. I don't know. I just always remember my mom being like, you need to get an education and support yourself so you can do whatever you want. But like my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She was a nurse. So sometimes she would she definitely worked a little bit like here and there, but she didn't go to like an office job every single day. Like maybe she would work a couple days a week, something like that. So she sort of had this balance. But I think I went into like grown-up life being like, yeah, of course you can have everything.
Right.
And then I think when you realize that you can't have that, it kind of throws you off.
Yeah.
And I think my story is a little bit different than yours because when I moved to France, I kind of I had finished my degree. I had a master's in nutrition. I was a registered dietitian.
Yeah.
But when I moved to France, I all of a sudden was faced with not being able to work because they didn't accept my degree here. I didn't speak the language. I guess I could technically have gone back to school to become a dietitian in France, but
that's
it's just
really hard.
Like when you're having a really hard time pulling the trigger on something. And to me, I was like, I just can't see how this is working.
Totally.
And I think at the time, I remember I started an Instagram account like Eat with Isabel, I was like, maybe I'll try and do like private consulting from France in the US. And again, like I just could never really.
It was called Eating with Isabel?
I think it was Eat with Isabel.
Oh, cute.
And I would just like post pictures of my food, and I was like, maybe I'll do like I can find like some clients and do that. And I just never could I couldn't get myself the oomph behind it. I couldn't get myself to focus on it. And
which probably meant you weren't like that passionate about it.
I think in my head, like I remember even at one point my husband bought me like a headset for like doing calls, because he was like, this would be great. Like you can have like a headset on your computer. Yeah. And I remember I just could not get myself to start. Yeah. And I think I just had a block because I didn't see in my head how this would actually work. Like I just couldn't see it. Yeah. And so I think career-wise, I felt pretty lost. Yeah. And then I was kind of in a situation where I was completely dependent on my husband. Yeah. And I'm so grateful that he supported me through all of that. And then I got pregnant. And so I was like full-blown stay-at-home mom when I had my daughter. And 2 months after I had her, it was COVID. So then kind of like it was this really nice moment. Like we were all, like me and my husband were home. We were all together. But I definitely had kind of the opposite of my early child years, because I was my husband was working. So I was like full-blown stay-at-home mom, which I think is sort of like what I always want. Like I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom.
Totally.
And I loved it. And I kind of like, when I look back now, like where I am now and where I was at the beginning, there was sort of a sweet spot for me.
Interesting.
And the sweet spot was, I remember just being very exhausted that first year, because I think there's a big like I feel like if I have another kid now, there'll be parts of it that would be much easier. But that change of going from not being a parent to being a parent, for me, I feel like that was just like a lot to get used to.
1,000%.
Add in a pandemic, change. Add in being in a foreign country, add in not knowing what I was going to do with my career. I just sort of felt lost. And I think like all those things that I really wanted to do with being a stay-at-home mom, like cooking, really, like I did all of those things and I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it felt like there was something missing.
Interesting.
And this sort of like leads me back. It's like, can you ever truly be happy? Like if you have the one thing or the other. And right now, I feel like I almost have a little bit too much going on, and I'm kind of struggling in that opposite sense of that transition from like knowing at one point I was a stay-at-home mom that had like the really nice dinner every night, and everything in our household was organized. Like we had our vacation, like all those kind of like admin stuff. Like I had the time to do it, and so I did it really well. I kind of did it like a business,
right? Of course.
And so all those like things were smooth. Like we knew what we were doing on the weekend. Like there was kind of that like extra, like the house was clean, the laundry was done. And so I think my transition now to having that as my expectation to then now working on like kind of a few things all at once has been really hard. But when I look back at like what my sweet spot was, it was actually when I started doing the TikTok stuff. Because I think the thing that I was missing from when I was full-blown stay-at-home mom was, one, like I had zero financial independence. Right. Which I didn't feel great. Yeah. And I didn't really have this outlet for my creativity. You know when you have a baby?
Yes. It's like all of
it. Just like I remember my husband would come home from work and I'd be like,
you're like,
she went to the bathroom today. Like I didn't even have any adult perspective thoughts to talk about. And it felt very weird. And I don't know, my brain felt kind of mushy. I didn't totally feel like myself either.
Interesting.
But when I started doing the TikTok stuff, at the time there was this creator fund. So I was making some money from it's not enough.
Why don't you talk about what you were doing so everyone knows?
So I started like kind of just like posting some videos about being a mom in France on TikTok. Yeah. And I've never really done the social media stuff. It wasn't really my thing, but my husband was like you should do you're always watching TikTok. Like, right. Just like try. So I started doing it, and it ended up being this great like creative outlet. And I sort of had like I don't know, it felt like I had like a thing again.
Yeah,
and
totally.
When I look back, like to me, that was sort of my sweet spot. I wasn't making enough money for it to be my career, so I couldn't have just done that.
Yeah.
But I had the time. Like it doesn't take that much time, and it's not like I was going out of my way to film specific things. Like I was just doing stuff that was happening in my life. But it gave me that kind of like balance of feeling like I was working towards something a bit, and getting like a little bit of reward for it because people liked it.
It was
and
super
I was like,
successful.
Oh, I was like, this like feels good.
Right, for
sure. But at the same time, I still had so much time left.
Okay.
Because at that point we were working on Prop Baby, but we hadn't launched yet.
Got it.
So there was stuff to do, but there was a lot of waiting
like
around.
Urgency,
like we would like order something and then have to wait. And there was a lot of like just waiting. So it was kind of this like holding period. And to me, when I look back, I'm like, that was awesome because I had the feeling of being really fully present in my house with my daughter.
Oh.
But also having like a creative outlet and feeling like I had a little like change in my pocket on the side. Sure. And now I feel like I'm just a little, I think that I'm trying to like have it all at once. And I'm so grateful for, because I'm working hard and I feel like I've built like the Prop Baby stuff, but at the same time, you've worked in the startup world too.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's just the two of us. We don't really have anyone helping us, and we're newbies. We're figuring it all out as it goes, and it's like it's doing really well.
That's awesome.
But it's just all of these.
Yeah,
it's been. I haven't really managed that change yet, and I feel like I'm coming short everywhere. Like I don't have enough time in the day to finish everything I need for the Prop Baby stuff.
For sure.
My house is just constantly a mess, and you know, like my husband helps too, but we're both working.
Of course.
Even though my daughter's at school, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, where are there just not enough hours in the day?
I feel
but I always feel like I'm like just like doing. I don't like to do things like halfway. I like to do them really well all the way.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's completely impossible. So I have just like everything is like slightly done, but nothing is finished.
Yes.
And then in my head, I don't know if it's like something with my personality, but I have a hard time relaxing when I have maybe everyone's like this. But when I have these like open-ended things, like things in my head, it's like when I go to sleep at night,
they go through
I'm like,
your head.
oh shoot, I have to.
I know.
I have to do this. I have to do this, and then it's like I'm spinning out. I'm not enjoying the present moment.
No.
And I don't really know what the answer is.
I think the other thing, and tell me if you agree, like it's like when you've got so much going on, like with work, the kids, et cetera, like one other like thing comes into your life, like your moving situation, for example.
Yeah.
And same with us, like our lease would come up and it'd be like, oh, now we got to think about like moving houses again on top of like
of all the other stuff that's not getting done.
And it's like, so it's like a big like life thing, like moving is a big life thing. Like all of a sudden feels like that also takes over in a way that feels overwhelming.
Totally.
And so I agree with you. And I think that's how you and I kind of were reaching this conclusion of like, you know, sometimes like it is about, and I think you said it well, like finding that sweet spot of like what that meant for you. And that's like your sense of like, this is how I can feel at my best, because we're frankly, like I was not at my best when I was trying to do it all, like in any sense of the way. Like I wasn't probably being a great mom because I wasn't present. I probably at work like was like a bit, you know, sometimes like was so stressed, but also like overwhelmed. And that's hard when you're like managing people and you don't want to be that, like having them feel that coming from, you know, that. And so I do think like there is, and it's on us to do the work to like find that sweet spot. And I think it means making trade-offs. Like, I don't know about you, but it's like,
is also, it's just hard because like that was my sweet spot, but that wasn't like a sustainable sweet spot for me either. You know, like, I mean, I guess maybe if I had kept going and like went like an influencer route and like
and
really
like
did
really
like
gone after
brand
it,
partnerships and all of that, like
you could have
maybe, but you know, I also just feel like, I don't want to say unfair, but I do feel like when I compare like when my mom was like when I was younger, it just seems like the house costs weren't as expensive. It just seems like pretty much every household has to work.
Yeah.
And everything is just so expensive. Childcare.
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot of things going on that end up with many things falling back on the mom usually.
For sure.
And I don't think it's the easiest time to be a woman in some senses, because you have like the pressure to be like the stay-at-home mom while also being like the working woman who's like thriving in her career.
Totally.
And it's just like,
and while being like a perfect wife at home
and being a good, like who has time for
and
being
like,
a wife?
Oh,
you know?
make sure you like, you know, stay in shape and eat healthy and like
and have a social life.
And have a social life. Oh, don't forget about
thing
like,
that's so hard for me too, because for me, I'm just like right now I don't have so much of a time for a social life. And it's not that I don't want to have a social life, but it's kind of like the thing that has to go,
that drops
because
like first,
like
I think.
if I'm going to prioritize, if I have like time for a lunch, like I have to see my husband.
Right, of
you
course.
know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
because if he has that
1000%.
time too, like that's our moment during the week when my daughter's at school.
Right.
We can like maybe sneak away and like spend an hour together.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think like coming back to your point of like it seemed easier for our mothers.
And maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
I think it was actually a societal shift in my head. Like
Okay.
meaning at the time, like I remember my mom telling me like, you know, there was only really like 3 things women could graduate from college doing, right? It was like a teacher, a nurse, like, you know, probably something else in that realm. And then it meant like it was like more natural for like the woman to stay home because she was probably in already a role that like allowed for that a little more, like a teacher or a nurse in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's so true.
And now if you think about it, like, I mean, women and rightfully so, like should be completely equal in every single like workforce situation as men. But because of that, to kind of do that well and be a mom and have kids, like you're now putting like a lot of that pressure on your like, and society frankly is as well, to like you've got to keep like moving up the corporate ladder and like we should be like paid, you know, exactly the same and fighting for promotions and honestly like a lot of it does feel harder as a woman because we're also the ones like, I mean, just even like right after you have a baby, you're going back to work like pretty quickly in the United States, like after you have a baby. And I mean, I remember like I had a C-section and my body like wasn't totally healed. And I remember like feeling pains, like sitting in the office. When did you go back
to work?
I mean, I took more time than normal because I was able, thankfully, to get like unpaid time, which is rare for a company to give you.
So you took like the paid and then
I took the paid and then my company allowed me like a certain amount of time like unpaid. So I think it ended up being like 4.5 months maybe with my first.
Like, you know, when you have a 4.5-month-old, like no one's sleeping.
No one's sleeping. Like, and my son did not sleep.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then you're back in, you're like pumping at work. And so you have to leave a meeting to like, you know, go pump and like sit in that room and you're still like typing emails while you're doing it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this can relate.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then we're holding ourselves to the standard of like, well, I got to quick, like put the milk in the fridge and get back to that meeting and like snap back into like, you know, being a strong professional woman. And I think it's just, the amount of pressure women are putting on themselves right now, and I think is just not sustainable. And I think COVID actually really proved that. Like, there's a lot of studies that show like what happened to women. Obviously, like so many of them dropping out of the workforce during COVID, because ultimately, like when you lose your childcare and you're also trying to work, like, and it ended up being the woman who was like picking up all the pieces. And I think that's really unfortunate. And I think hopefully, like, I do think some good things have come out of it. Like, I'm a huge proponent of like hybrid work models that I think a lot of companies are doing now. Like, I feel so happy for these moms that I've been like consulting with at different companies that are able to like be home with their babies, like for even just 2 more days a week and only in the office 3. Like, it just makes like such a huge difference. And it allows women to like feel more of that balance versus the like 5-day-a-week grind, you know, 8 to 6 at least in the office. And I just think there hopefully are some positive like societal shifts that can occur, because I just think the way I did it when my kids were little.
I imagine you just must have been so burnt out.
I was super burnt out. And honestly, like, if I'm being like really honest, like I feel really sad actually looking back at those years, because I feel like I missed out on like when my kids were babies and toddlers, and it was such like a blur. And I'm wondering if like, you know, like stay-at-home moms feel that way, or if they were like actually really present. And it was painful, I'm sure, a lot of moments, but at least you were there. Whereas like I definitely feel like I missed so many moments, like even just little things. Like I was like, I can't miss my baby's like first steps. I definitely did. And my nanny just didn't want to tell me, you know, and then pretended it was happening when I got home from work, but there was no way that was actually pretending. But you know, and it makes you like, all of a sudden your kids get a little older where they need you a little less, like, you know, physically. I mean, I think emotionally, obviously our kids will always need us in some way, shape, or form. But now it's like, I'm like, oh, I want a baby again, so I can like redo all of this and really be there and like, you know, live all those moments, even though they're hard. And so it just, I think, unfortunately, there, like, you try to do it all and you always feel like something's giving in my mind. Like I felt like I was trying to do it all, and in reality I was just making trade-offs,
Look, I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Honestly though.
No, and I mean
and to like I don't know if it makes you feel any better at least, but like when I think back of my daughter started a part-time daycare at 8 months old.
Okay.
And when I think back about those first 8 months, honestly, like that's
not
really the
for
part
you too. Yeah.
That's not really the part that I have some really like nice, good memories of like those first 2 months and then like some in the summer. But the main thing I remember is just being so tired.
Oh yeah, I know.
That I felt like I couldn't enjoy anything anyways.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm happy I was there, but I don't have this feeling that I was just like super present.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure most people say
I kind of
this,
felt
actually.
like I was like a zombie, just like going through the motions of the day.
Totally.
And I think I breastfed till 8 months, and it really wasn't until I stopped breastfeeding
that you felt like
started
normal.
to like feel more like myself.
Yeah.
And then like from that point, like I have really good memories of like a year and a half.
Oh.
And just feeling like I had a good balance because my daughter was in daycare a few days a week.
Right.
I had a little bit of time for myself. I had a little bit of time to work, and I had time like with her fully present, no phone, wasn't busy enough with work that I had to be thinking about it all the time.
Totally.
So that felt really good. But the baby part,
you're right. Maybe that's just something we now glamorize because
I think there's like a long, like because I really want to have another baby, and I definitely long for that. And sometimes my husband's like,
did you forget?
Like, do you remember? Like,
well, they say women's bodies are trained to
I'm
forget.
like, I don't remember. I don't remember. But I do think that I think that a lot of being a parent or a woman with young children sort of unfortunately is like just surviving.
For sure.
And I think it can be very easy to fall into this trap. Like I even do it today. I'm like, well, sometimes, and I've kind of been like rushing through things or whatever. In my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, like she wanted to read one more book. Like
I know you still get the guilt.
Why was I like, no,
that?
I said only 2 books tonight. And then I just like I have this like sinking feeling.
I know, I do the same
in
thing.
my stomach.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the other night I like shed a tear about it. I was like, this is like why am I doing that? And so I kind of feel like we're always our own worst enemy in a sense.
For sure.
That there's never going to be like a way that something happens that it feels like it was the perfect way. And I think it's a lot of like societal stuff
for
that
sure.
we like try and be the best version of everything. And it's just like a losing
it's
model
a losing
because
battle, for sure.
You're never going to feel like you're doing a good job when that's what you're striving for. Do you know what I mean?
100%. And I think more women need to like just feel okay that they are doing their best. Like, and I think it's unfortunate. Like, the pressure, I think, becomes a lot, especially a lot of like us, like really believe we can have it all. And like, I really did. Like, I was like, of course, like I've worked really hard in my life and I just have to work hard and just keep working hard. But and
then honestly, one day you'll have
one day it'll be like perfect. And it's going to be this like great balance of all these things. And like, I just don't believe that anymore. I think that's a totally broken way of thinking. And
will you just like explain what your work coach said?
Yeah.
Because to me, when you said this to me, I was like, it felt like so, like kind of like a relief to hear.
For sure. I had been working with. So when I knew I wanted to leave the startup, I wanted to kind of start. Like, I think I wanted to start my own thing, but I was honestly really lost. Like, I had got out of corporate America. I had 2 little kids. It was the middle of COVID. And I was like, what do I do with my life? Like, I didn't necessarily know if I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but then I was like, maybe I do. But then financially, like that wasn't really working at the time because we lived in a really expensive city. And like my husband wasn't, we just couldn't really afford it at that time. And so I was working with this career mentor and I kept telling her, I was like, well, I'm trying to have it all. I'm like, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to like be awesome at my career. I'm trying to like be like as present as an amazing mom as like as many hours I can spend with my kids. And she was like, wait a minute, like stop. She's like, you can have it all.
Stop you right there.
Yeah. She's like, you can have it all, but not all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was like, it like totally opened my eyes to a new way of thinking. I'm like, well, what do you mean not at the same time? She's like, it's just trade-offs. She's like, you can have an amazing career, but it's going to be really hard to also feel like you're 1,000% present and not going to miss any moments at home with your children, because that's a trade-off. And she's like, and you can be at home very present with your children and not necessarily like, and feel like you're killing it in the workforce. And so I feel like that for me was like, there are just times of your life, like now I'm really sort of trying to like parse out periods of my life of like, okay, what do I want just for like the next few years while my kids like still like want me around and want to cuddle and like want to hang out on the weekends and want to play with me after school. Yeah. And for me, like, I don't want to live my life by my LinkedIn profile of like, I've got to keep reaching these levels. But yet like, I do still like some sort of professional outlet. And so for me, like the last couple of years, I started my own like part-time consulting business, which has been really great in a lot of ways. But I also even find that like it gets really out of balance. Like I end up working crazy and then I'm like, wait, that wasn't the reason I was doing this. Like, and I have to constantly sort of like do this like balance
like check
of like, remember why I'm doing this specific like consulting part-time. It's supposed to be part-time, and a lot of times I would let it get out of control, and remember that like not to let it overtake how I want to be as a mom and what's like so important to me now, which is like actually living in these moments and trying to really like, when my daughter wants to play Barbies, I'm like sitting and playing Barbies and actually mentally there, not like thinking about 8 million things and pretending I'm playing Barbie. Do you ever do that?
Yeah, of course. But I like don't even play Barbie.
Well, I'm only, this is new for me, but yeah.
I don't know. The role play stuff gets really tough. I love like doing the art stuff.
Yeah.
And
but it is, I know.
Cooking, but the role plays.
It's hard I think it's hard for a lot of
moms. The only one that I do like is my daughter will never speak French to me ever. Oh. But if we play student teacher, then she's the French maîtresse and she'll speak to me in French.
Ooh.
And then I play. Then I'm like, play. Oh my gosh,
you're like, I want to hear her.
And then like I speak back in French and
so
she helps
cute.
me. So that's like my one little.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. But anyways, I think coming back to the point, I think this career mentor for me just sort of put it in perspective. And now that's something I am honestly like actively working on, of just what do I want when? And I think there'll be another time in my life when I'm like, no, I want like an amazing career, and I want that to be like really what matters a lot to me during, a different part of my life. And so I think our life is short but long, like in terms of the chapters.
Totally.
And so I think of them as like now my life more as like a chapter book of like, that was like when my children were like babies and toddlers. And this is the chapter of like, young little people, and there'll be a chapter of older children. And so I think, I don't know,
that's a really nice way to look at it. I always do better when I have like kind of boundaries like that, or have like a structure of how.
Me too.
I don't know. When it's all right now for me, everything feels like
too
out of control. Yeah. And I think that's why I feel so uneasy, but it's true. Like if I can maybe like put things
and remember
in a different perspective. And I think also I used to just never really be that serious. And I think I've gotten like
serious,
more
like,
serious.
In what way?
like just taking things so seriously. I think I've always been pretty like lighthearted, and like I sort of looked at life as like, like sort of like a game. You know what I mean? Like from a zoom out, like, okay, like this is really bad, but it'll get better. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's amazing.
And now I think I've kind of fallen into the trap of like taking everything so seriously. And I really think like the key to like, for me to be happy is to like be able to not take things that seriously. And I think this is another thing I'm struggling with, like the work stuff is just like, it's not that serious.
It's not, it
feels serious to me because like I worked so hard on it,
totally.
But like, it's not the end of the world, and like it's not the thing that I'm going to be thinking about on like my deathbed.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think at the time, especially something like work can become like, it's like the thing that basically you wrap your identity in. So it becomes like the thing that's like, oh, I got to take it so seriously. And if I don't do well at it, like that's actually just me as a person failing. And like at the end of the day, like you're going to remember those extra hours you worked at night. Like, no. Are you going to remember like that you were, you know, like some great memories like you had with your kids, like, cause you were actually able to be present. Like those are the things I'm also trying to think about, because I've been the opposite of you, where like I've taken everything really seriously. Yeah. Like, and it just doesn't feel good after a certain
No, it just like, I don't know. Like, I think it's also like so inspiring to like watch. Like we went out to lunch yesterday with a bunch of kids.
Isabel and I. And
yes. Sorry. And
our families.
It's just so fun to watch the kids because they just play.
Yes. And they don't think about anything.
And they don't overthink anything. No. And I think it's like also just a good lesson, like for me too, to like constantly remind myself is like, just like channel your inner child a little bit in the sense of like, you know, like there's always, you go to sleep with your to-do list completely full. Like it's not going to change. If you, if you finish it, like you're going to wake up the next day and feel like
amazing.
Have the best day of your life. Like, no, there's going to be more stuff to do.
Exactly. So, yeah.
I think
I like that perspective. It's like try not to take the things that don't need to be taken so seriously. Like
totally.
So
like I think there's actually like pretty few things in life that need to be taken super seriously. And I think everyone makes a lot of things, like even me trying to find a new house. Like yes, I guess it can feel very serious, but at the end of the day, like
you're not going to be homeless.
What's the worst that happens?
Figure it out.
We rent an Airbnb. We go back to our apartment. Like, you know, like we'll figure something out. So that's something that I'm probably making very serious right now that really should just be like, trust that it's going to like all fall into place.
I also like the perspective. I listened to the Mel Robbins podcast, and I made Isabel listen to one that I loved, which was like the 4 magic words of like, what if it all works out? And I think it's also for me, like changing my mindset about something. Like I tend to be more like of an anxious person that jumps to like the negative. And I'm like really trying to retrain my brain to be like, instead of assuming the worst, like I'm going to be homeless and on the street and et cetera. And you don't do that. Like I love Isabel because I think we're kind of the opposite, where you're like much more of like the positive, like it'll work out. But like, I like have to actively ask myself like, but what if it all works out? And like, what if you're in like an even better house than you could have imagined? And, you know, like if you spin it also, it's like, it makes you take things a little less seriously because you're also processing them more positively, you know?
Totally.
Like,
I've been using, ever since I listened to that, you guys should listen to that episode if you haven't.
I think
heard
it's like called The Magic Words or something. We'll post it.
I think about this all the time because I think lately too, I've had like, because I've had a lot of my mind, I've been more anxious, if that makes sense.
Yes, for sure.
Like I just feel like a more anxious person than I used to be a year ago.
Yeah.
And so I've like noticed myself like going into sort of like some like, you know, when you role play something out of like what could happen.
Oh, I do. It's catastrophizing. It's called.
Yes. I catch myself in this like sometimes when I'm driving, maybe because it's quiet, like in these like thoughts of like things that like aren't happening, but I'm like thinking about them happening.
Totally.
And it's so weird. But every time I like catch myself doing that, I've been like, what if it all works out?
Yes.
And then it kind of just like.
And you like stop the train up going too far. Yes. I'm also going to get you on meditating. I've started meditating, which I would not. My husband's been telling me this for years. I'm not joking. Like he has literally been like, Kim, you're anxious. Like, why don't you just try it? I'm like, are you joking? I'm not gonna like sit there and like, do you think I have time to just like sit somewhere and like be silent or like listen to someone like tell me something? I'm not doing that. So I fought this for, I would say it's been a good maybe 5+ years that I was like, I'm not doing it. And then I was like, we moved here. I'm like, I'm going to be open-minded and in every part of my life. And I'm really trying to do that. And I'm like, I'm going to try new things. And so I started doing this and literally I've now worked my way up to like 15 minutes of silence, like a prompt at the beginning and then just sitting in silence, but training myself to like,
that's actually really
let
good.
Go of thoughts. Like, cause then you can, and you see what comes up and you can see yourself like going down the path in your mind. But because you're forced to like refocus on your breath, like, you're able to like stop the train from getting like too far down in like normal life outside of the meditation. So anyways, I'm just my own personal experience, like having done it now for 2 months, it just has allowed me to like be more present, to like let go of like some of the thoughts, because otherwise they were just like this jumbled mess in my head all the time. And I'm not saying it's going to like cure every problem.
No, but I think I 100% need to do this, because before I used to do like, I used to meditate in a non-meditative, like I didn't really know I was meditating, but I was always very aware of like how I was feeling, like if I needed to like be like by myself in a room.
That's awesome.
And I took a lot of like time for myself, and I think I naturally sort of did that. And I always felt very connected like with my intuition and like what was good. And I think that's like gotten me a lot of places in life.
For sure.
But I think I don't have those moments because also the bad thing about like using my phone for work is it's always very easy to be on your phone all the time.
Totally.
And I think that's kind of got taken away those like moments of quiet in my head.
For sure.
And so for one thing, I've like started to like have way bigger boundaries with my phone because it's not making me a better person at all.
I loved what you said, how you like leave it upstairs when like your daughter's home from school.
Yeah, I've been putting it upstairs to charge.
Yeah.
And I try, because the other problem with working with the US is a lot of the emails and the messages and everything comes through when it's like after school, dinner time, bedtime.
Yeah.
Which is those kind of key hours where, you know, my daughter's been at school all day long. Totally. So theoretically I should be able to have finished what I need to do. But the reality is like that's when like a lot of stuff's coming through and maybe someone needs feedback. And but by leaving my phone out of sight, like I'll have my computer downstairs if I need to check something sometimes, but just not having the phone there helps a lot.
No, I think that's great. Like, but everyone needs boundaries like that. Like,
for sure,
especially with the phone. But meditation is, I think I'm doing it to actually get more in touch with my intuition because I think I listen to my head more than my heart, and I'm trying to like get better at that. But you like naturally have that. You probably just need a refresher.
I think I need to like carve out that time specifically when I'm by myself.
Yeah, totally.
Too, because I think it would be very helpful.
Yes.
But I guess to sort of like wrap up this talk, I am curious I think other women feel like this.
Please, like, let us know if you guys are feeling this way, because this is just
what you do.
We're open to advice as well.
Yeah. And I don't know, I've also noticed like whenever I talk to friends, it's almost like one of the first things that comes up.
For sure.
It can like be seen as like everyone's just complaining all the time.
Yeah.
But I actually just don't think it's complaining. I just feel like there's this need to feel like heard and that you're not alone in these like kind of struggling through life a little bit sometimes.
So we're here to tell you you're not alone.
So you're not alone.
And that, you know, I think it is good to like just ask yourself, like, what do you really want? Like, what's going to matter? Like, what, you know, what kind of trade-offs am I willing to make to like help myself get a better life? And I think it's also like, maybe it is about that, like you can have it all, but not at the same time. And what are these maybe potential chapters that you want to think about? But,
and you probably need less than you think.
Yes. We've learned that living here.
In every sense. Like, you just don't need that much.
Yeah. Like the Instagram ads, like I'm like, I can't even look at them anymore. You have to just stop doing unnecessary shopping.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, join us next time.
And make sure to follow us on Instagram, cuckoo.pod. Bye.
Bye.